The Lillian McDermott Show.
Okay, it's time to dance, Eve.
Bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need,
so this is my theme song, written for the show.
I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott radio show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening friend, will feel empowered to live a new truth or embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, as I always say, please put my number into your phones, your speed dial, 407-373-5959. I'm going to say that again, 407-373-5959, because we have a giveaway today. So be ready for that. But today, before I introduce my guest who wrote the book, A Year of No Clutter. So all you pack rats, hoarders, and people that are just a little bit messy, listen up, because we have Eve Schaub joining us later. But before we get started and I introduce her, I want to share how one of my personal superheroes, Louise Hay, passed away in her sleep at the age of almost 91. This woman has touched my heart in more ways than you'll ever know. She is a champion for people that had HIV/AIDS. She started the movement of teaching and learning and breaking the myths. She herself ended up with cervical cancer when she was about in her 40s. And when at that time, she dealt with her childhood rape at 5. It was then where she started really, truly healing her life. And she was abused many times, but she did not let that define her. At the age of 40, her life changed, and she learned how to heal herself and how her thoughts made such a huge difference in life. You can think positive, you can think negative. Whatever you think, therefore you become. And she was the creator of that. She helped me see that in my life. She wrote her first book at 50, and she started Hay House at 60. You can't get any better than that. And she lived this new truth that I talked to you about, that was a new truth for me, but not for her. And she died in her sleep last night, or yesterday. And my friend Heather Dane shared the news. She ascended. She didn't die. Love never dies. And that's one thing that I learned about Louise Hay, that love never dies. It just changes form. So if you want to learn more about Louise Hay, she wrote a book, and she's written many books. She's got many affirmations. You Can Heal Your Life was the first one that I picked up. And I'm showing you guys that are watching on video. She signed the book. I had the privilege of meeting her. Heather Dane introduced me to Louise Hay back in 2015. And let me tell you, I treasure this book. I treasure her. And I just wanted to share how another superhero has ascended and is now doing superhero work in another dimension. So I want to say thank you to Louise Hay. Anyway, beyond that, so today, like I said, calling all clutter bugs, pack rats, or hoarders. Do you identify with that? Messy people. Do you still have an article of clothing from the 1950s, newspaper articles from the 1990s, stack of papers? Do you save every picture that your children make? Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe. But anyway, today we're talking to Eve Schaub. She is the creator, the author of the book, and I have it right here in my hot little hand. It's called A Year of Clutter. It's a way she teaches us what she did for a whole year to get her life in order. And I believe it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge. And I'm grateful that Eve Schaub is here to do just that. Welcome to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, Eve.
Hi, thank you for having me, Lily.
Well, share a little bit about your background and what led you to write this book.
Oh, gosh. Before this book, I had actually written one previous book, and it's called Year of No Sugar.
Yes.
And before that, I'd always been a word person. I always liked to express myself in writing. But clutter and objects and keeping things is a theme that I have encountered throughout my life. It's something that I've given an inordinate amount of thought to. So it seemed like a natural transition for me to go into the subject.
Good. And so a little bit about you. You're an author?
I'm an author. Words are how I express myself and communicate and deal with things. And in particular, this was a problem that I had been getting worse and worse for some time. I had been accumulating things, and for me, it was a hidden problem. This was something nobody knew about me until I decided to reveal it in the form of this book.
And you have come out and you are now helping others help them organize themselves. And so good job with that. And we're going to continue our conversation with Eve Schaub, the author of Year of No Clutter. And if you would like a copy of Year of No Clutter, I can't even say it, you can call 407-373-5959, be the second caller or texter. And we're going to continue our conversation worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Okay, good job. And I'm sorry I took so long with Louise, but she.
Oh, not at all.
I'd love to encourage you, if you've never heard of Louise Hay, to just listen to one of her videos. She focused on love. Everything was about love. And as I entered my 50th year, my life changed to be all about love. And I had her book. I don't know. I've had this book, Eve, for probably 10 years, and it sat there. And once in a while, just having her book, I started looking into stuff that she was doing, and I thought, wow, this is different. This is different than anybody else. Everybody talks about, hate your neighbor and fight back, and she was totally different than that.
She sounds like an amazing person.
She was. I'm telling you, she wore a superhero. And I love how she writes Louise Hay with a little heart, and then she circles Hay House right there. But anyway, I don't know if you know who Wayne Dyer was. Well, Wayne Dyer was published by Hay House.
Ah.
So now you see the connection. But really, seriously, she was loving the people, the untouchable. And she would do support groups for them. And that's when she really she just started she left her home when she was like 16 years old because she was being abused by all her mother's boyfriends. And it started at the age of 5. And so she left and she also got her mother out of a difficult situation. So she was all about love. And when I met her, it was just magic. It was magic. But anyway, enough about Louise, because I know a lot of people are talking about her today. Let's talk about you. So the next thing I want to talk about is that journey, that realization, because it takes time, because we don't look at the things we need to look at. So let's talk about that moment of awareness.
Well, it's like how you described the book that sat, in your pile of things for 10 years because you weren't there yet. You didn't,
wasn't ready.
That's right. And then suddenly one day you were ready.
Mm-hmm. Well, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and she was sitting by my side the whole entire time. I mean, once I really embraced Louise, I would listen to her meditations every night before I go to bed and listen to her say, good morning. But anyway, here we go. We're gonna start the show. Time to dance.
Friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn from one another. And today's teacher is Eve Schaub. And we're talking about a year of no clutter. Are you a clutter bug, my listening friend? Worse, a hoarder? What's the difference? How do we know? Well, it's all addressed in this book. And if you're the second caller or texter, 407-373-5959, you will get a free copy of this book. Now, Eve, thank you for coming on the show today. And so because we were talking off the air, and for those of you who would like to see this broadcast off the air, you can go to YouTube. So go to whenyouneedafriend.com, click on the YouTube button, and it'll take you to our new videos of the show. So, Eve, what was that moment for you? Because, sometimes we will go past clutter and not even see it. What was the moment? What happened when you actually saw the clutter?
That's a really good point. One day I was walking through my house, and I was describing that my clutter problem was a secret one. This was one of those things that nobody knew about me. So how can that be? Well, I have this room in my house, and it is the largest room by far, but it didn't have any particular purpose. It wasn't a bedroom, it wasn't living room, dining room. It's on the second floor, and it's it's dangerous because it has no particular function, and so we kind of were using it for, well, we'll put it in there. If all else fails, just put it upstairs, put it in that room. And we used the room occasionally for this or that. And I thought, oh, maybe our daughters will use it as an art room. Or, for a little while, my husband was sewing camera straps. He's a photographer. And so he used it for that purpose. But there was always this pile. And the pile grew and shifted and moved. And one day, I realized that the pile had taken over the entire room. It wasn't functional anymore. I shut the door, and then stuff started to pile up against the door. And this was something that I'd always thought about in the back of my brain. Every year it was my New Year's resolution to get it under control. Come on, this is a perfectly good room, and I know
it's a beautiful room, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So you've seen we have the YouTube video of what it looks like now, and the transformation from what it was before up till now, the time-lapse video.
Yes.
And it was funny because when I announced to my friends, this is what I'm writing about now, they were in disbelief. They're like, but you don't have a clutter problem. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, well, you should see my upstairs room, but, I'm afraid that you'll need resuscitation. So it was bad, but I had it under control, or so I thought. But then when I see that it's migrating and moving and starting to morph and come down the hallway, and it's coming for me, and I saw how this problem can evolve over time and start to take over. I really got it. I understood how somebody goes from being a person who likes stuff to a clutterer to a hoarder. It's a long process.
Yes, it is. And it's so gradual, you don't even know it's happening. I wrote an article because I also write. I've been journaling for a long time, and I finally am using my journaling for the Florida Today. I write for Florida Today. And one of the articles I wrote before I even started, it was my first talk. The first talk I ever gave, which was an actual speech, where I was giving a witness talk. I talk about this in this next article that I'm going to be writing. But I wrote about a journey into my messy closet. I think all of us has a drawer, maybe a trunk.
Absolutely.
Whether yours is your room, mine is my closet. That's where if I need to do a mad dash, somebody's coming over, I pick up everything and I throw it in my closet, close the door, and nobody is welcome there. But isn't that the truth for our life, Eve? That we do that with certain things. We put on our makeup, we put on our mask, we look great on the outside. But on the inside, there are times that we say, if people could hear the screams in my head, right, they would run away.
Absolutely. In fact, the decision to open this room up, and it was a little, I wanted to bring the video camera in, and I wanted to talk about
very brave.
And it was a little bit of an uncomfortable shift from my previous behavior, which was the exact opposite. I mean, literally, I would lock the door to this room because I was so embarrassed. I didn't want the babysitter accidentally going in there. I didn't want my mom to wander in there.
Sure.
I was, no, this does not exist. That's the point of this room, is to hide all this.
Yeah.
And so yet, I've got all this stuff in there. And I realized that if I have that stuff in there, there must be some reason for all these things. And yet I have no access to any of them. I don't even know necessarily what's in there anymore. Yeah. At a certain point, the trails that were in there that could lead me even in and around the room disappeared. The piles that cascaded inward, and it became this like geologic landscape of crap.
Yeah.
And all my treasured belongings were sort of unfindable, unusable, unenjoyable. And I thought, well, this is completely counterproductive, right?
Yes.
I say that I care about these things, but I'm not taking good care of them. I'm certainly not using them and enjoying them. And that's the whole point. So I thought, if I can take a year and try to unravel, unpack, undo my problem, then I will decide, once and for all, whether I can do that, whether that's even possible. Can I undo this behavior pattern that I have so firmly entrenched? We've lived in our house now for 20 years.
Wow.
So I've had 20 years but for my whole life, I've been a keeper. I've been an accumulator. And I talk about that in the book, how I started as a very young kid. And, I didn't have any money. So I'd collect things that were free. I had a rock collection. I had a soap collection from, whenever we'd go to a hotel or my dad would travel for business, he'd bring me back little soaps. And, I would just I'd keep leaves. I would keep the tops off of the yogurt containers, Dan and Yogurt, they had those little, and I just love.
Well, can I interject here? Okay. I understand the soaps and I understand the rock collection. What I don't understand is the Dan and Yogurt tops. Can you elaborate on that one a little bit?
Okay. So one day as a kid, I see this commercial where people are saving the tops and doing crazy things like wallpapering a room with them, and they're all different colors and they're pretty, and I went, oh my God, you can keep those. So of course, immediately I started. I guarantee that somewhere in my attic, those yogurt tops are still there, because even though I have, spoiler alert, I did have some success with my room, although Martha Stewart would not be impressed.
Yeah.
Usable room now. And the book tells the story of that journey from completely unusable to usable. But I still have my attic to contend with.
So is the next book A Year in My Attic?
Oh my God. That was my older daughter, Greta, who's now 17. She said, that your next book, Mom, oh my God, I looked in the attic. And I was like, no, that's refuge.
Well, but isn't this a metaphor for life? Because when I was procrastinating writing that talk that I was telling you about. And by the way, my listening friends, be the second caller or texter, and you get a free copy of Year of No Clutter. It's a memoir by Eve Schaub about how she learned to declutter her life, not her attic yet. So that's going to be part 2 of this conversation. But if you're the second caller, texter 407-373-5959, you can get a free copy of A Year of No Clutter. So the reason why I'm telling you about my closet was because I was procrastinating writing this first talk. And as you know, people would much rather die than public speaking. That was a poll that they did that fear of public speaking was number 1, and I think death was number 3. So people would rather die than public speaking. And so
Wow.
I had gone into my closet and to kind of like clean my closet, because I would not allow anybody in my closet. And so as I was cleaning, I saw all this crap that was in there, all this stuff that was in there that, and I realized that there were some letters that were in that I pulled out and started reading. And I needed to see that, which was what prompted my journey into my messy closet, writing my article, and the whole metaphor for the journey into my closet. And with you, and I want to ask you this question: as you are cleaning your big room, what do you call it?
Call it the hell room.
Hell room. Okay, so as you're cleaning that, do you feel, because I was cleaning my closet, I felt my life in control, like I was like gaining my life back. And so as you're cleaning this hell room, are you changing? What is going on in your life? Because that happened to me.
Absolutely. I think that the whole process from the beginning, and I won't say to end, because there really is no end, right? This is an ongoing, forever new way of living in my life. But it was very therapeutic for me. And it was very stuff, objects. The whole point of them is that they're symbolic. They are metaphors in and of themselves. So I was trying to sort of go through and undo this and see if change was possible. And that was a really wonderful journey for me. Being able to, and it was very challenging. And of course it is, right? Because we all have these closets or garages or junk drawers.
Sure.
I think everybody's got, as you pointed out, this on some scale. It's a matter of scale. It's a matter of, it's relative, right? It's not my whole house, but it's this giant room that's 567 square feet. That's a big room.
Yeah. And that's right. And how many of us are avoiding parts of our life that are keeping us from true enjoyment, from the life that we want? This is a metaphor for life. And I'm encouraging you, my listening friend, if you have a messy whatever, this is how I know my life is out of balance. And right now, my closet is not looking good. I'm serious. I don't invite people into my closet, but now that we've exposed ourselves, Eve, right? Absolutely. We allow people into our messy closet because it's a vulnerable place.
Absolutely. Yes, it is.
It is a vulnerable place for us. This is a metaphor for our life. And if you are looking at a messy closet, drawer, car, whatever, I am telling you, your life is out of balance. This is not an opinion, but it is what happens to me. And we're going to continue our conversation with Eve Schaub, the author of A Year of No Clutter. Be the second caller or texter at 407-373-5959 and win a free copy of Year of No Clutter. And we're going to continue our conversation worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Good job.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so we're doing good. And I'm enjoying talking about this. I could talk about stuff for hours.
Obviously, you wrote a book about it. It's very good. Now, I do want to talk about the dangers of, we were being lighthearted, but there are people that have 100 cats that they live with.
Absolutely. There are different kinds of hoarding.
Yeah.
There's people who hoard animals. There's people who hoard books. There's people who hoard food. We now have subcategories within the hoarding umbrella.
Write that down. I know. I saw all the different. Okay, so write it down because I write different kinds of hoarding. And then I want tips on how you got free from that. Before we do the next segment, I will talk about my social media and how to get a hold of me. And I want to encourage you to tell your friends to follow me. And so, but besides that, What's your next book going to be on? Because you did A Year of Sugar. And how was that for you? Are you still off of sugar?
We are, we have sugar occasionally, but we are what I like to call high-level sugar avoiders. We are very suspicious of sugar coming into our diets, coming into our lives. We're very picky and choosy about it because we now know the ramifications.
Oh my gosh.
So you do lose your taste for it over time. When you do it for weeks and months and up to a whole year, you actually really don't enjoy the taste of sugar, especially not at the level that the average American enjoys it at.
Well,
or,
yeah.
Been led to enjoy it at. It's this sugar inflation that we've gone through in recent decades. So now everything is so insanely sweet that I don't actually find it appealing anymore.
Yeah, I understand. As a matter of fact, Eve, interestingly enough, when I started my radio show, it was a fluke. I went to advertise for my marketing company. I own a marketing company and I work with doctors. And at the time I was working with attorneys and I started a campaign. And I was encouraged to go on WMEL to promote my business. And after a 30-minute interview, I was asked by the owner of the company how long I'd been doing radio. And I went, 30 minutes. Yeah. So 30 minutes. But anyway, the rest is history. However, when I first started the show and he offered me the show, it was about being compliant and following the norm. And, that's where I was in my life. I was about 47 at the time. I can't remember the age. I'm 54 now. And so I was challenged about a year after my show to go raw vegan for a month. And I'm like, how difficult can that be? Within a short period of time, I didn't realize. I ate pretty healthy, but I was a sugarholic. I'm telling you, I was sugarholic. I would say if I could point to one vice, that was it. Sugar. I craved it. My husband and I went on this cruise on not the Oasis, but I think it's the Allure. And there was a guy that was doing the cotton candy. And I swear to you, my cotton candy was probably 5 feet tall. And I ate it all. Then I went into a coma. But anyway, I was a sugarholic, and I didn't realize that inflammation how it was causing my body. But I was healthy, slender, didn't have to worry. But let me tell you, when I went back to eating, I tried to go back, and I had a juice, and I'm like, what the heck is this? Yeah.
It's hard to describe to people who haven't experienced it. The sort of, oh, no, I actually really don't want that. You go to a birthday party, and if you don't have a piece of cake, it's like you don't like the person whose birthday.
I know. It's like sacrilege.
So symbolic. It's such a metaphor. We use sugar in so many ways.
Here we go. Time to dance again, girl.
Friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959.
I will reintroduce you back in.
Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always grow with one another, and you can hear us worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. I am your host, Lillian McDermott, and we grow each day. I ask you to go through life with childlike wonder. I enjoy watching our grandchildren or little kids at play because they truly, truly, truly savor each moment as, they go through life not knowing what they don't know. And they are always willing to learn a new truth because they're not attached to anything. And here to teach us a new truth is Eve Schaub. She wrote a book, The Year of No Clutter, and I want to encourage you to be the second caller or texter at 407-373-5959 and get a free copy of your book. A second caller or texter, 407-373-5959. But that's what we talk about on the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. And that's why I always send you to whenyouneedafriend.com, because this is where we take 100% responsibility for our life. And I know that the word responsibility has been used has a bum rap. It's about blame, shame, fault, duty. But really, if you take that word and you take your life back, it will lead you to empowerment and freedom. It doesn't matter what anybody has done to you. Louise Hay, as I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, she could have every reason to be angry and bitter. But regardless of what happened to her, she took her life back and said, you know what? That's not going to define me. You're not going to change me. That is the embodiment of 100% responsibility. And if you are ready to make that choice and make that change, I want to encourage you to go to whenyounneedafriend.com, become a subscriber, and wait for that confirmation email, because it's a 2-step process. And once you confirm, you'll get access to my Mind, Body, Spirit Positive Affirmation audio link and my 90-day challenge to self-love ebook. But check out whenyounneedafriend.com. Grow with me there. Grow with me in my social media on Instagram at Lillian McDermott, Twitter, Lillian MCD, on Facebook.com/Lillian's Radio Show. So what I just said means subscribe, like me. That's basically what I'm saying. And also you can listen on demand. Important thing, that when you subscribe to whenyounneedafriend.com, you will get the show sent to you on your phone or tablet. So you can subscribe to On Demand on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio. You can subscribe on my YouTube video channel now. And as last but not least, you can call me. You have access to my phones right here. 407-373-5959. So be the second caller or texter to win the book, Year of No Clutter. Eve, I am so grateful for this book because, it allows us to look into our life and the things that are cluttered within us. The book is, to me, this book is about a metaphor of your life, my life, everybody's life, who refuses to look at the things we don't want to look at. So let's talk about the different types of clutters, the hoarders, the different kind of hoarding. What did you learn and discover that you can share with us as a result of writing this book?
Well, I did learn an awful lot about hoarding, the phenomenon of hoarding, and it's a really, really recent phenomenon. I mean, I think people are more aware of it now because of the reality shows that are out there. But the first time we have a recorded instance of hoarding was with the Collier brothers, and they're back in the early 1900s, and people were the two brothers, they died and they left this gigantic brownstone, and it was filled from top to bottom. And people didn't know what to make of this situation. They didn't know what to call it. They were fascinated. It was all over the newspapers. And this is our first instance of seeing hoarding in the media, and when this term started to come about.
Sure.
After that, you get other people who, like William Randolph Hearst or Andy Warhol. They're known as eccentric collectors. And I talk about in the book how what's the difference between someone who's an eccentric collector and someone who's a hoarder. And really the only difference between them is that they're organized and they have enough space and they can access all their belongings. Everything has a place to go. And that's what led me to the realization that there's a big difference between being messy and being a hoarder. Someone who's messy, and it looks the same to outside eyes, right?
Sure.
I don't consider myself a messy person at all, but I have hoarding tendencies. I have cluttering, proclivities. So I explain it like this. You go in your kitchen and it's a mess, but you know what to do with it. You clean it up.
Most people do.
Yeah, and you know what needs to be done.
Yes.
You could even have someone else come in and they could probably do it for you, right? They'd figure out where the plates go, whatever. Everybody knows what happens with that. Clutter's different because clutter's all about decisions. It's all about, I don't know where this belongs. I don't know where it goes. I don't know whether or not I want to keep it. I'm not sure. I'll put it over here until later and I'll figure it out. That's what clutter becomes, is these piles of indecision. So at any rate, I wanted to get back to the point about different kinds of hoarding, because now hoarding is such a known phenomenon that we even have subcategories. We even have, we've got food hoarders and animal hoarders and book hoarders. We now are realizing that this is a much more prevalent problem than we were previously aware. And in fact, there are estimates that between 2 and 5% of the population are hoarders, which sounds like, okay, that's not too bad.
It's a lot.
Oh my God, that's like between 6 and 15 million people. And I actually think those estimates are low.
Yeah.
When you talk to firefighters, for example, they report that they see hoarding conditions in fully 25% of the homes they enter.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people, and it's a very hidden phenomenon. It's behind closed doors. You know, it's something that's it's very easily under the radar.
I know that you have a quiz for finding out if you're a hoarder, and of course you have your own interpretation of what the questions are. And so I want to encourage you, my listening friends, to tune into the Year of No Clutter. And well, you can get a free copy if you call 407-373-5959, because I'm calling up to book hoarders. Anyone who is a book hoarder, you may want this book. But going back, again, I just keep going back to that reflection of our life. You cannot be a clutter bug without looking at your own life. Where else is this showing up within me? What else am I keeping from you so that you don't judge me? Because it's really easy to, like you talk about the collectors that have a place for it. Like for me, I had a really big closet, so I could put a lot of stuff in there. But I would dread going into my closet to pick my clothes out. And you just turn that blind ear. You just look away. It's in your field of neglect. It's in your visual field of neglect, which I ask the question again and again, and I just cannot release it. To you, my listening friend, is there a part of you that that clutter drawer, that closet, the trunk of your car, an attic for Eve. Eve, you have an attic now that you have to, yes, there she goes, guilty.
It's true. I'm holding up my hands in surrender.
Yes, we all have that. We all have that. And we don't even want to look at that. Can you imagine our own personal lives, which I've made it a mission on the Lillian McDermott radio show. Let's look within us too.
Absolutely.
And this could be an indicator. If you don't want to look within, look around you, right? So what are some of the tips? What got you started? How do you tackle that huge, huge mountain that was your hell room?
Exactly. That's the key, right? Is how do I get in there and not get immediately discouraged and want to just, the most sensible thing to do is to leave immediately, shut the door, and never go in there again.
Sure.
That's your instinct. Your first impulse is, I really don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that, I mentioned that my New Year's resolution every year was, I'm going to get this room back. And every year I failed spectacularly. And that's because I'd go in there and I'd get so stymied right away. Yeah. So how do you crack that and get in there and don't let that happen? And so some very simple things I figured out just through brute, stubbornness was I said, okay, I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to bring my kitchen timer up and I'm going to set it for 15 minutes. And I have to deal with this room and go through and address things for 15 minutes. And then I'm allowed to leave for the rest of the day and I don't have to do anything else today. And what I found was that 15 minutes was long enough that I actually started to feel good about it instead of bad. I started to get over that, I know I don't need this. Or, I should give this to so-and-so. Or, I can recycle this.
Or it can go into my attic.
Or it can go in the attic. All those fails, right? Yeah. So what I found was that after 15 minutes, I was allowed to leave the room, but I often didn't. In fact, invariably, I would stay for 5 more minutes or 15 or maybe another hour.
Very good.
I'll just do a little more because I'm making progress now. This feels good.
Okay, and so now we're going to continue focusing on what to do. For those of you who would like a copy of Year of No Clutter, be the second caller or texter, 407-373-5959. And we're going to continue our conversation on how to declutter when we return worldwide with Eve Schaub at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Okay, so remind me again, Eve, how many steps do you have, points, tips, that you can share?
A lot. We can just hit on a few.
Okay. So how many do you want to hit on?
Let's see. How about, why don't we do 2 more?
Okay. So you have 3. So the next segment, can you imagine? We're almost done with the show, Eve.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So there was one thing I wanted to make sure.
Okay. What is that?
Which was what Clutter's about. For me, I discovered that the sort of underlying.
Okay, yeah. Don't say it yet. What was this? What your clutter is about?
And a lot. I think in general. I think going back to the metaphor of clutter, what does it really mean? What's the underlying?
Good. Okay, so I will ask you that after you give the tips.
Okay.
How about that?
That sounds good. That sounds really good.
So we'll do 3. You think 3 tips?
Yeah. So we already did we did the timer one, and then I
don't tell me the other ones, because if you tell me now, then we won't do it on the air. It's one of the tips that I heard from John Harper. He gave me a lesson 101 in radio broadcasting, like right before I started my first show. And one of the things is, don't discuss the topic off the air that you're going to discuss on the air, because you won't remember it'll lose its power.
Yes.
And I have held true to that, with the exception of now that we have the recording and we can, at least if you didn't hear it on the air, we can have it here. But it's been a fast rule for me. Now, who was the clutter bug in your family? Who did you witness as the clutter bug in your family? I'm not talking about your husband now. I'm talking about growing up. What was the clutter?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Who taught you that?
Who taught me to be a clutterer? It's something that I never noticed until later. Growing up, my mom kept things very controlled and neat and organized, but my father's desk was a mess. And, it was just the way things were, and I didn't ever think anything about it until my parents divorced. Ooh. And then suddenly my mom has this nice, neat house, and my dad's house is like something exploded.
So your mom was exhausted for keeping up with all that.
She's likes things a certain way, and she likes her things, but she likes organization. And it's interesting because I get that too. That's where the side of me that it has the rest of my house. It's almost like I've got my mom is over most of my house, but then that one room, that's my dad.
Isn't that funny? Because in our family, we always knew when my mom was sick, because the house was like hospital corners neat. My dad was in the military, and my mom, she would just put things there, and we didn't realize that my dad was the one. So anytime my mom was sick, my dad would take care of her, and the house was just perfectly neat. So I inherited both of them. So that's an interesting point. Hey, last hand.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn from one another. And today's teacher is the author of A Year of No Clutter, Eve Schaub. And for those of you who would like a free copy of this book, be the second caller or texter. So I'm calling all you hoarders and all you messy people. And you know what? We are all in that subject. We are all in that title. Nobody. If your house is so clean that literally you can eat off the floors because there's no germs on it, there's something else that's going on there. So just don't act like I don't clutter, because there's something else. Hey, as a life coach, I can tell you there's something else going on. Now, Eve, before we went on the break, we were talking about, and 407-373-5959 is the phone number, second caller or texter. Now, Eve, let's go back to your first tip was timer. You're like what do you call it? You're not a clutterholic anymore. Well,
Well,
you have the tendency. You're always a tendency, right?
yeah, I kind of like to think of what I was sort of a proto-hoarder. I was the beginnings. I was getting there, and I didn't like where I saw it going. I even read in the book about going to visit an actual hoarder's house.
Oh,
And that's a whole chapter. And that scared the heck out of me. I thought, okay, I feel very motivated now. I don't want to go there. So getting in the door was for me, so I used the timer, and that was what sort of cracked it open for me. And then after that, in terms of tips, practice, 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 which is such a simple tip. It's very easy to say, and it's hard to do.
What do you mean practice, practice, practice?
Well, for me, as I mentioned, clutter came down to deferred decisions. These were all things that I went, oh, I'll think about that tomorrow. Oh, I'll do that later. I don't know, so I'll just keep it. I might need it. There were all these things that I had
rationalization
to defer those decisions to another day, another day, another day. And it went, no, today I'm going to decide. And this thing is going to have a home, whether it's with me, whether it's being put away and I'm keeping it and using it, I'm giving it away. I found so many ways to get rid of stuff. I put it out by the curb. I take it to the local charity shop. I give it to a friend. I recycle everything I could think of, because I have a horror of the landfill, of course. That makes sense, right? So I'm afraid of throwing things away and wasting them. God forbid I waste something. So I had to find a proper happy home for every single one of these thousands and thousands of items. And that took time. It took an investment, and it took practicing that long atrophied deciding muscle that was in my brain and had been just really unused for so long. And I set about to reverse that and get it strong so I could decide. And the more I did it, I found that it did over time get easier and easier.
Ah, very good point. Very good point. It's interesting. We downsized back 3 years ago, and I had lots of knickknacks and lots of decorations, and I didn't realize how much I had until I went from a larger place to a smaller place. And let me tell you, and I don't know if this happened to you, but my friend Judy Bressler, she came over to the house. She was my military police because I was just so overwhelmed with everything, all the things. And and you look around and you go, man, that money could be in my account right now of all the things that I spent.
How did this happen?
I know. And Judy Bressler, she would say, let's throw this away. I'm like, no, I could use it. And I went through this, it was a great process. It was painful. And I remember at one point, Judy was, she's from Trinidad, and she has this cool accent. I love her accent. I love imitating her too. But she was in my face. She goes, Lily, you don't need this. It's throw it away. It's like, Lily, do you really need this? And I mean, she was my drill sergeant. And I so appreciated her because you're in a coma. You're like in a zombie mode when you're going through this. But anyway, so I could appreciate what you were doing.
The help of others, getting other eyes in there. That's another really good tip. Yeah. But you have to be careful, because I found that sometimes, more than once, I had a very, very well-meaning dear friend try to help me. They'd see, oh, you've got this big pile, let me help you with it. And I wasn't ready, and I was so like, oh, thanks, but we're good, I'm fine. I couldn't. So I enlisted the help of my girls, and I write about that in the book. And it was very interesting because they are 17 and 12, and they have polar opposite views of stuff. My older daughter, let it go. Get rid of it. You don't need it. My younger daughter, keep everything forever. So we've got the two of them, and it's like the two sides of my brain. I've got angel and devil talking to me on both sides. So that was a really interesting dynamic. And for me, it was very helpful and very therapeutic to have it sort of play out in front of me and go, oh, okay, I see. And where can we be in the middle, sort of the happy medium?
Sure. Okay. So any other tips that you would like to discuss?
Well, I also like to talk about visualization. I ended up visualizing my house as a living organism, because it really is. It functions that way. It's alive, and it things come in and things go out, just like with our own bodies. And so I thought, this is a natural process, and I have to remember that things come in all the time, every day, and stuff has to go out in equal measure, and that's healthy. So that visualization helped me.
I have a friend that for every outfit she buys, she needs to get rid of 2. And I'm like, I could never do that.
It's just like that. Yes.
Yeah, she's very disciplined. And I'm thinking, I'm going to buy this, but I don't know about what I'm going to give up. So
I don't know if I'm on hard with it. Yeah.
I'm giving you a little insight on Lillian McDermott here. Okay, so Eve, let's talk about what clutter really means and what your takeaway was on your clutter. And I just want to hear your takeaway that maybe you can share with someone who's going, what clutter? I don't have any clutter.
Right.
And the 100 cats that are around them and the dog food and the, whatever. I don't have a problem. What does clutter truly mean to you?
Well, I tell the story in the book about my grandmother. When she passed away at the age of 95, we went into her apartment, which was neat as a pin. This is the kind of woman with the vacuum lines are always great and like never a thing out of place. And we go in to disassemble her apartment and, give things away and who wants what. And we go in her closet, her coat closet, and we find a little tiny hoard of food. We find ketchup and grape jelly and crackers and beans and all this stuff that she has packed away. And I'm thinking, my neat as a pin grandma would probably be horrified that we are discovering this little pocket of, weird hoarding. And I thought, but this makes perfect sense. She lived through the Depression, right? So what our hoarding is, what the form it takes, says a lot about what it's motivated by. So in the case of my grandmother, that was motivated by a fear of hunger, right? So for me, what's my hoarding motivated by? Well, all those deferred decisions, I realized, are motivated by the fear of making a mistake, fear of being imperfect, fear of being wrong, fear of, all these things. Sometimes people talk about hoarding as a fear of death. And I do think that there are a lot of people, if I keep enough stuff, I'll never die. None of this makes any sense. It's irrational. But I think there are these undercurrents in our brain, way back in the reptilian part of our brain that are saying, keep this, you never know. And what are the fears that underlie? For me, it was a fear of imperfection. And once I got that, I went, I'm going to give myself permission to be imperfect. And that was very helpful. Like, okay, I'm going to make mistakes. I accept that. I'm going to give something away and I'm going to regret it. And I have to understand that is part of the deal if I don't want to go down the road to being a hoarder and, having my house totally overrun and unusable.
Interestingly enough, there are 2 choices that we make. They're either based out of fear or based of love. And so you chose to love yourself and love your family. Eve Schaub, for those of you, my listening friend, if you want to learn more, go to eveschaub.com and second caller or texter to win the Year of No Clutter. Eve, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Lily, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it goes too fast, doesn't it?
Really fast.
And please remember that it's your choice. You can choose love or fear. What will it be today? Please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. I'm going to tell you, the clutter bug DNA. The clutter bug DNA is in my genes, but so is my father. When you talked about those vacuum cleaner lines, that's my dad. So my dad this is one of the largest homes he built, and it was like a 5,000 square foot home. It was beautiful. But the plush carpet, it was blue, plush carpet in the living room area. It had this like 3 levels, and then you had these marble tiles, and you would go into this huge room. And when you would step on it, it would leave an imprint.
Oh.
So my dad would rake it.
Oh my gosh.
He would rake it so that and so he would go there and he would rake it. And you know what? We are such little punks that we were all adults with children now. And so we would see my dad would be like raking, and then we'd all look at each other and we'd do a stomp fest.
Oh no.
I know, it would kill him. My dad was like, oh, don't do this to me. But yes, that was it.
Now I have to get the rake again.
I know, exactly. And so, later on, my dad's 87 now, and it's really difficult for him to have people over now. I mean, so it could convert, if we don't release, and I think that this is the main, and what I loved about your book, A Year of No Clutter, is that you can see what your future can become if you don't grab this by the horns.
That's what I found. I found like, okay, I see the alternative, and I'm going to make a conscious decision to go turn away from that. I don't want to go there.
Yes. And I want to thank all the YouTube followers or the people that are watching this video, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. And so we're going to see you tomorrow. Hold on. Oh, okay. This is an encore. Okay. Encore, because behind Eve there is a blender.
I don't know if can you see it okay?
Yes, I can see it just fine. So
the blender, I found it yesterday. I was poking through my attic, which is always a really bad idea for me. And I thought, I'm going to bring this box down and see what's in it. And I find this blender, which actually was one of the things I brought home when we were cleaning out my grandmother's apartment. It was hers forever. She was the person who kept every appliance, sparkling and in use for decades. And it's beautiful. I mean, but it's got like this cloth cord. I'm terrified to use it. I'm sure it still works.
I would use it. It probably works better than your blender today. I mean, unless you have a high-speed blender.
I've got a blender that's okay. It works-ish.
Yeah, and I have a high-speed.
I should try it. But I put this up on, social media, and everybody went nuts going, you should turn it into a lamp. You should, give it to somebody who has a retro kitchen. You should, everything you can think of. You should actually use it. You should throw it away. A lot of people going, toss it, get it out, put it up, And I'm going, no. I don't want it to go to the landfill. Hate the landfill. I want it to
try
go to a
it.
happy home, right?
Yeah, well, it could be your happy home. Here I am, the hoarder in me is saying, try it out. It might be better than the one you have now.
Well, I have to ask myself. I always have to go, wait a minute. This is a memory of my grandmother, but is it really, do I remember my grandmother using this? No. I was never there when she used the blender. And does it remind me of her? Is it special? No. Do I need to keep it? Is this the only thing I have of her? No. So I could probably let it go to someone else. And I had the idea last night. I thought, what if I asked the local theater, which has an extensive prop department?
That's a great.
And, they're constantly having to recreate, maybe a 50s kitchen, a 40s kitchen, that sort of thing. So I thought maybe they would like it. They've got room for it. And that would be a truly happy home for this. They would love it and take good care of it. And that's what I try to do for everything I find.
Well, that's a really admirable question. I want to acknowledge you for that. I have to share you my story. When my grandmother passed away, she was 99 when she passed. This is my father's mother. And when my dad came back, he came back with a bunch of memories from my grandmother. And one of the things that he brought me was this cookie jar that looked like the evil twin of Chucky. Remember Chucky? Those. It was a bear, and it was like, it had like this. It looked like Chucky's.
It's supposed to be cute, but it's really scary.
It was scary. It was scary. It was white, and it had. I'm thinking, there's got to be some value to it. So I looked it up, and it was like $20. I mean, so it's like there wasn't. So I said, Daddy, what was so symbolic? And it's like brought me the memory of your blender story. What was so symbolic about this cookie jar that you would want me to have it? And I'm thinking this is going to be a tender moment between father and daughter. And he's going to tell me this beautiful story And he says, well, Lily, he's Spanish. My mom would buy a cookie. And I would go in the cookie jar and eat it. Oh my God, that is such a great story, Daddy. But
not good enough to keep it.
but you know what? I couldn't throw it away.
Oh,
I really
really?
don't know where he is right now. I may have given him up to someone. I don't know. But that cookie jar, I would be in honoring my dad for giving me this cookie jar. This cookie jar became like this thing that I would put in different rooms. And then it became like find Chucky's cookie jar, you know, like it's like
like the elf on a shelf.
That's right, elf on the shelf. It became my cookie jar.
Where is he gone now?
I know. You know what? Now that I think about it, because we've moved several times since then, and so I really don't know where that Chucky cookie jar is. But I'll have to.
That's the kind of thing that I would go, oh, but this is so incredibly, wonderfully horrible. I can't part with this because it's just incredible how terrible this is.
Yes.
I'll do that. And I talk about that in the book. I talk about my ugly lamps. I have the ugly
Yes, I saw that.
lamps from the 70s. They're this welded steel, and they're so impressively bad that I'm in love with them for that reason. You know,
I think they're great. I guess there's a little bit of hoarder in all of us. And with that, we're going to say, love you, peace for everybody out there that's watching. And thank you again. So here we go. Bye. So yes, everybody has a hoarder story that they want to share. And certainly your story is no different than mine, with the exception that my hell room was my closet. And
I'm
but it could be
that every person I talk to has a story about this is my problem, or this is my mother's problem, or this is my cousin's problem.
Oh, this is still recording. I don't know how this happened.
Hello.
Oh, okay, we're back again.